Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today our distinguished guests are Dr. Milan Sombarak. Welcome to the show, Milan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you as always. And also Jim Ida from Ida Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha.
Great to have you, as always. So today is a quite challenging market, and although it's Wednesday, and usually we expect on Wednesday market to go higher, but don't forget that this is an unusual week. It's a short week. There will be no trading on Friday, so you can treat today's Wednesday as usual Thursday. So it's not a real Wednesday as we like to say.
Okay.
Although we will see what's happened for remainder of the day. But anyway, the market is down, and how we can mitigate the market. So I was right that on Friday I almost liquidated everything. I liquidated 90% of my fund portfolio, of course, and my core portfolio. I'm receiving the dividends income, and I will reinvest it into my fund portfolio, not in my core portfolio. So that's where we are. And Milan, how you've done lately on the market?
Well, first of all, let me make a comment about the way I'm dressed today. We have been and will be talking about Lululemon. And Lululemon has, for the first time, made it possible and acceptable for people to wear comfortable clothing, so long as they're inoffensive, wear comfortable clothing anytime, anywhere. So typically, talking heads like we are would have a shirt and a tie and not be as casually dressed as the three of us are. And in the past, I've always worn a jacket. But given what Lululemon has done to society and make it possible for people to be comfortably dressed any way they like, I've decided to wear this. I was born in Belgrade. My parents were Serbian, so this is a Serbian hat. Only Serbians have this hat. And I wear this buckskin jacket because I was a fan of Pierre Elliott Trudeau's, and every once in a while you'd see him wearing one of these canoeing, and so I started wearing it, and it's comfortable. So thank you, Lululemon. That's why I'm dressed this way. Now,
Yes.
Sasha, you talk about modern investing, and modern investing it requires momentum trading, doesn't it?
In some cases, yes. I'm not following momentum trading, but I'm well aware of at least stocks that I'm following. I follow probably 20 plus stocks. That's it. I'm not involved in the stocks that I really don't know unless it
Of course,
came
of
to
course.
radar, and then I start to investigate and really figure out what to do with it.
I looked into momentum trading recently, and it shows the record is that from the 1920s to today, momentum trading, also called relative strength trading, has outperformed a buy and hold strategy 70% of the time. And the reason it does that is that a trend is more likely to continue than it is to reverse itself. So that if we buy on the rise, there's a good chance that what we buy will get even higher. And so that really flies in the face of the idea of buying low and selling high, because it's the exact opposite. The higher it gets, the more we buy. And with momentum trading, the record has been impressive. It has beaten a buy and hold strategy since the 20s, 70% of the time. So the important thing, though, is because we talk about the Monday Morning Millionaire program talks about a 50-50 asset allocation, where at least half of our investment in our portfolio, core portfolio, is in cash. And when the market drops, we buy bargains. When the market rises, we take profits. It's the exact opposite of momentum trading. And momentum trading works, but so does our approach, which is not simply buy and hold. It consists of having a large amount of cash, the 50% or so works for most people. And so the important thing is that we never use both approaches. Either stay with momentum trading or stay with the 50-50 asset allocation, but don't try to do both, because then you're going to stumble for
But
sure.
wait a second. This is the purpose of having core portfolio where you are holding
Yeah,
some
of course.
stocks, dividends, or whatever it might be, and a fund portfolio. In a fund portfolio, you're trying to maximize your profit.
Yeah,
And
Sasha, what you're saying is true. It doesn't work for most people. We try to maximize, but the average investor trails the market by 40%. Not everybody is Sasha Starr.
well, thank you so much. But again, I think what I'm doing is a common sense. It's not, there's no magic in it. Okay, look, I predicted that by Friday, it was last day of the quarter. So obviously everything went up to a maximum, any stock almost, right? So, and I thought that May stocks may fall down the first week of April, but then it would regain momentum, because right now there is a bullishness on the market. It's quite evident, because even in the last couple of days, the market was quite lousy. It didn't go down big time, like it wasn't drop of 300, 500 points on the Dow or usual. No, it went down. It's down S&P 500. It's down 2% today, for example. No, 2% for a day. It's quite a lot, because if you consider that there are, say, 240 trading days, and every day market will go down 2%, your loss will be several hundred percentage points. Now, it's not going to happen. But still,
The average beggar on the streets of Toronto makes $200 a day and doesn't pay income taxes on it. You'd be better off being a beggar in Toronto than investing in a market that drops 2% a day.
yeah, well, it's not happening every day, as we know, and sometimes market can do say 10% a day, and some stocks like Lululemon can do 20% in a few hours. So, so that's also the case. So,
But,
what I did, for example, Friday, again, following my strategy, I sold 90%. The only stocks that I didn't sell, actually, it's where I have options. For example, if I have naked options, or I have some positions, for example, with the covered calls. But even those with covered calls, I also liquidated on Friday, because the gains that you're realizing on stock far exceed whatever small loss on options.
how did you liquidate your covered call? Did you do so by buying them back?
It's one transaction. Okay, in my trading platform, it calls covered call. So I select covered call. For example, I've liquidated which covered calls on Friday. Let's say Goldman Sachs, for example. Okay, I started to accumulate Goldman Sachs. It did fantastically well. I started to get it at 310, and it was 327 by Friday. I had some covered calls, which I didn't write them right at the moment I started to accumulate stocks, but later, when I already built up profit on the stock itself. Now, I thought, okay, there are two strategies. One, to keep it for the next week. But then I didn't want to start losing from the top of my position, and even incremental loss. I didn't feel like I have to tolerate. And also I wanted to look at some positions. And also I expected that it should drop down to 320, maybe even lower. And then I would continue to accumulate. For example, today I bought some more shares at 320. And they have on April 18th, they have the quarterly report. Now, interesting enough is, okay, there are other stocks like JP Morgan, but the JP Morgan, I have fraction of what I have in Goldman Sachs, because you see, Goldman Sachs is great at trading profits. Now, the quarter, the January to March, was great for stocks. Stocks were doing fantastically well. So if anybody would take greatest advantage of this trading ideas, it should be Goldman Sachs. We'll see very soon if I'm right. But most of the times that's what they're doing. They show fantastic trading profit. And trading profit is exactly, it's like the greatest return on investment is when you make trading profits. Nothing can beat it, right?
Sasha, the two issues here about this style of investing. One is it requires skill, which most people don't have. And two is it requires a great deal of time. Now, we talk about this 50-50 asset allocation, our approach to investing, which is we buy bargains when the market drops, we take profits when the market rises. And monitoring a portfolio of that sort requires 15 minutes a week. We did a survey of our members who are mostly working people and they don't have the time. Now, if you enjoy this, and many people do, by all means, go for it. But if you have other things to do, like run a business, then 15 minutes a week to get an excellent performance is a wonderful return on the time that you spend.
I remember in my younger years when I was involved in music, and one of my students, her husband he had a company which evaluated performance of the top managers and would recommend, for example, if there are 3 people are up for promotion, they would evaluate each of them individuals through different set of tests, and they would recommend 1 out of 3 to be promoted. And in exchange for a few lessons, I decided to go through such a test. It was the beginning of 80s, so it's 40 years ago. Now, what's happened is that the final results of the test, one of the results was areas where I will be the most successful and least successful. And the least successful was to being a naval officer. That's where I would fail miserably. I would not get far at all. But the 2 top areas, the second area where I should be the most successful was music business. But the top one was investment officer. That was the top back 40 years ago, which at that time I didn't own any stocks. I didn't even understand what they are and how to buy or sell them. So I have zero knowledge whatsoever. So when I started to invest, my first investment I did in 1986, about 4 years later, which was very successful in penny stock. It's a company which was run by Grandmaster Duncan Suttles.
No.
It was a software company, and it was follow-up then with Yasser Seiravan. And I did actually very well on all these investments. And then shortly thereafter, in 1989, I started my own public company, which did quite well. It was offering was IPO $1 a share, and it was oversubscribed. And it opened up for trading at $1.50 and went higher to over $2 or so on. And then there was a lot of course, interesting developments in that. Eventually, I sold it several years later at the end of 90s. And but I did quite well with running this public company, and this is probably the most profitable business that you can even imagine, because essentially what you do, you create your own currency. Okay, there is a Canadian dollar, right? So Canadian government can print Canadian dollars, US government prints US dollars, and in your public companies that you control, you print your own stock, which nobody else can do. No government, nobody in the world can issue shares except yourself. So as long as enough people would follow your stock and trade it here and there and so on, and you can do additional public offering, you can, stock is going substantially lower, then you can consolidate. There are several ways of dealing with that. So I don't know, of course, you may say that it requires a lot of time, but I'll rather spend a lot of time on something that makes you money than serving somebody and get paycheck every 2 weeks or so on. Actually, I must say that I've never served in somebody else's company. I was never an employee of any kind. So I was always, what you may say, entrepreneur, and I always learned everything, including investments. I've learned it myself through acquiring experience, analyzing what's happening, what makes a stock move, and so on.
Had you been an employee of the Ford Motor Company by owning an outlet, or Canadian Tire by having a franchise, you would have been a millionaire over the course of a lifetime. So depends where you are an employee, and a lot of
A lot of luck goes
employed
in.
people do very well. Dentists are averaging in the United States and Canada an average of $200,000 a year, and some are doing double that amount.
Well, look, it's never been my goal to be employed by somebody else,
So yeah, it's a personality thing.
but it's a personality, I think. For example, if I would approach Ford to be employed, I don't think that I have necessary skills to
Oh, yeah.
offer to Ford, so to be gainfully employed. So maybe it's my circumstances that when I started investing, and in my first year, I made 5 times as much as I was making in music business. And in music, I was doing very well. So,
That's really unusual. Very few people do very well in music. People
I
go,
know,
let's
I
say,
know.
for a major symphony orchestra, and they have to audition, and they audition behind the curtain, and
Yes.
the adjudicators don't know who is playing, and the performer doesn't know who the adjudicators are. That type of auditioning is very demanding, and very few people make it. Of the millions of musicians out there, a very small percentage can make one of the major orchestras.
Of the millions of very talented ones. Everybody's so talented and there's only a few slots for them. It's much like we talk about the grandmasters now. And getting back to what Sasha was saying, it's a temperament thing. I talked to some grandmasters who are outside of the top grandmasters. They can make a living at it and also good money. But most of the grandmasters that are below that threshold, make a living, but it's not a great living, and it's not when we're you would do it only because of the money. You wouldn't make that choice, but they do it because no one's telling them what time to get up, no one's telling them where to be. They have the power of choice in everything that they do, and that's more attractive to this type of individual, as long as they can pay the rent and
Jim, plus you forgot one very important thing.
uh-huh.
They're not capable of doing anything else.
Well, there is
They're willing to do anything else. So for them, it's an easy choice. Okay, now there is a proliferation of chess lessons.
yes, and that is making
very
all the difference.
profitable, and a lot of people are doing exactly that. Again, I don't think you can become a millionaire from chess lessons, but you can have comfortable living.
Both of you are outstanding chess players, and I want to ask you: can somebody reach an international master level just by studying, or do you have to have the gift in the first place, which you polish, working at it?
Well, 2000 anybody can reach. That's not a problem. To get international master, we're talking about at least 2400 plus.
Mhm.
I think some talent would help a lot.
Yeah, I think that that's a prerequisite at that level. That you must have your mind must work a certain way. You must be able to see things that other people can spend hours, no matter how much training they get, still not see. There's a creativity, there's an intuition, there's all sorts of things that people are born with generally, and they don't acquire by training. But if you have some talent, and most people have some talent, and the additional training can take you quite far. So, but if you have zero talent, of course you can't get there. And if you have a modest amount of talent, hard work will get you so far, but you will never get to the top. And that is reserved for people that have talent. There's no question.
Most people playing chess are doing so for the enjoyment of it and for the love of it, and not to make a living.
Absolutely.
Most people, of course, they do. To make a really good living at chess, we are talking about probably top 20 in the world who are playing online Magnus Carlsen tournaments. And then you have probably another 100 or so who capable of playing in tournaments, sometimes better, sometimes not. And of course, chess lessons. Without chess lessons, I don't believe anybody can survive in chess.
Well, when I was growing up in the United States, there was no such thing. I didn't have a coach. It was just, we were all what we called autodidacts. We taught ourselves. And that was a lesson that my father taught me, was don't wait to be taught, teach yourself. And that's what I did with investments. That's what I did with chess. And that's what I did with a lot of different things, including my career in system programming. Lots of things where if you wait around to be taught, you're going to wait a long time. Seize the day and go and teach yourself, because there's a lot of resources that you can find to get to a certain talent level. And then, of course, you need, I think, a peer group, somebody that is, you can make their acquaintance, and you can gain their trust, and then between the two of you, the three of you, the 4 or 5 of you, you all get better. And that's what happened to me in chess, and that's what happened to me in investments. You start to bang your head against each other and argue, and you get a little bit, think better, more clearly, make better decisions. And certainly that's true in the world of finance. But you go your separate ways at some point. And I think what Milan is talking about in both with momentum trading and the buy and hold strategies, I think it's a question of discipline. Get to your rules. Make your plan and stick to it, and whatever it is, you'll do better than if you switch plans. Isn't we talk about in chess? You can have a bad plan. It's okay. Don't go switching between plans. But you also have to react to what your opponent does. And if your plan is all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'm heading down a road where there's no chance of success, I have to change my plan. I have to reassess. And this happens in investing all the time as well.
Absolutely, they're parallel, exactly, yeah.
I would think that very important both in chess and investing is a pattern recognition.
Yes.
So when you are watching stocks, for example, after I liquidated most of my positions by Friday, I started to say Monday I have plenty of cash and I can employ it any way I want. And I started to look, okay, so I have idea of financials, Goldman Sachs, that's great, and I'm following that. But then what else I can employ my capital? I started to look at, for example, gold. I started to look at gold because in this environment, I think gold can do quite well. So I think the best representation of gold, there are two, Barrick Gold and Newmont. Newmont is a more expensive stock, and in percentage-wise, I think you can get more bang for your money from Barrick. Also, it pays small dividends, say to some percentage, but still it's not bad. So I decided to concentrate on Barrick, and today it's quite evident that gold is on its way higher and higher and higher. So I decided to buy Barrick today. Great idea. But when exactly today? Right in the morning when it opens up for trading? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's open up at $20 and then it goes lower. Because a lot of people who bought at $15, $16, $17, they want to get out at 20. Sure, so they will sell. So what gonna do market makers? They will lower their bids and lower their bids and so on. So they will try to pay them as little as possible. So when stock went down to 1950, I decided it's time to strike it.
Mhm.
And I bought several hundred shares, I think 800 shares, at 1952, which is close to the lowest point of the day. Let me see, what is it doing now? It's now $19.80. Okay, so I'm already in plus, but I'm not selling covered calls or so on until it will reach at least 21. So right now I still hold on to it, and that's quite good. Then I started to look at stock by the name Now, ServiceNow company. A lot of positive recommendations or so on, and I started to watch the action, like what stock is really doing, because it's expensive stock. It's $460 a share or so on. So now you have to be careful because there is a lot of downside. There is. You can buy a couple of hundred shares and you can lose $10,000 almost in a second. So I started to watch that stock. I like the action, and now we are coming back of use of options. Okay, so I started to buy now, and my average price is $462.23. Okay, that's expensive stock, as I said. But that allowed me to sell covered calls expiring April 21st, just say 2 weeks to something. And each call generated $14.60. Now, what does it mean?
Wow.
It means now we're talking about 460. April 21, $4.60 call. So I'm expecting that stock probably, hopefully, it will go higher in price. It will be taken away from me. So $462 and some cents minus 1460, it's $448, even less. So that's really what I will generate in profit only because of options. If not options, then I have to take all the risk and stock may go a little bit higher. It's trading now at $466.20. Yesterday it was 470, even higher. But that's okay. My call is still there, my calls, and I don't mind to be assigned because I will fulfill my objections on that stock, and I will not cry when it will be taken away from me. And hopefully,
Yeah,
it is there.
if you're assigned, Sasha, and you like the stock and you like what's happening and you like the right cover calls on it, will it drop? Place your trade on a Monday, expiry date on a Friday. Will it drop on the following Monday to allow you to buy it back at a lower price?
Probably, yes.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I will not rush to buy it when
Nothing works all the time, that's for sure.
No, yeah, it's not all the time, but it's an option because you already build up your product. Let's say you may say a couple of $1,000, okay?
Yeah.
The couple of $1,000 provides you a cushion to be wrong.
Yes, yes.
So even if you will buy it back, and stock drops lower, okay? So you have a cushion. You can now still keep it, or you may sell it and you will lose, say, $500, $600, and so on. You have a cushion that you already made profit. So on stock like now, I could get way much more money on selling maybe July, August calls. Or premiums are astronomical, let's put it this way. But then my risk is increasing if so market fluctuations, stock could go much lower, so on. I decided, no, let me be assigned. Hopefully I will be assigned. But there are scenarios, let's see that stock will close on April 21st, lower than 460, which is my strike price. So I will keep the stock and I will keep the premium from covered call. So I don't rule out that scenario. So then I have, like in chess, when you're planning for several moves ahead, then I already have planned what to do. Depends where the stock will close. If it's lower, if it's higher than 460, it will be taken away from me. Thank God. Now, if it's not, let's see if it'll close, say 450. I'm still in plus territory thanks to covered call. And now I have to make next move to sell another covered call with expiration in, say, 3-4 weeks possibly, or just liquidate position, just sell it and hell with it. So that's all that really depends.
Well, Sasha, you hinted at, and I wanted to press you a little bit on this. You talked about gold might be a good thing in this environment. Well, what is this environment? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay, it's environment of great uncertainty. That's what it is. It's a geopolitical situation in the world. This nonsense with not our, but U.S. Führer Donald Trump.
The world's expert.
All this nonsense, it's uncertainty. Geopolitical situation is not just Ukrainian war. It's just attempt of China with the help of Russia and few other actors to create a new currency zone, which will be, of course, yuan. And Russia actually is working very expeditiously to completely replace ruble on Russian territory with yuan. So it would become yuan country. And if they will get on their side, most likely Iran, a few other countries, and who knows, maybe India, if they will see so many countries adopting yuan, India will go that way as well.
I know you're not joking. It sounds like a bad pun, though. They all become one country.
Well,
One country.
Is it similar to the euro? Is
No.
it similar to
They
the
share the
euro,
same
which is a currency that, I don't know, 20, 30 countries share one currency? So the Russians
Well,
and
look at
And talk about the
Eurozone.
populations that
Look at the
China,
European
Russia,
Union. In European Union, you have a lot of countries. Some of them keep their own currency, like UK before they
oh,
quit
yeah,
the Union, they kept their own currency. There are a couple of Scandinavian countries that keep their own currency as well.
right, Krona.
So, uh, European Union, um, they're largely successful. Not everything works there, but most of the time it works. So now, but again, the population of the European Union, say 500,000,000 people, right? And if you create conglomerate of China, Russia, maybe India, and few other countries, we are talking about billions of people,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
2.5, maybe 3 billion people using the same currency, yuan.
Would
So-
they be a trading bloc, do you think?
Uh, they have nothing to trade with, but they may try. Actually,
It's yeah, it's unlikely that India will be involved. India is a part of the non-aligned movement. It's
yeah,
not in
yeah,
this position.
but if they will figure it out, is it to their advantage to join them,
Of course, yeah.
or at least use it as a bargain with US and European Union and say, okay, we are going to join yuan-denominated currency. With
And India has had some questionable leadership of its own right. That you can have somebody who makes a bad decision, and all of a sudden they're not aligned anymore. They're aligned, and so sometimes this can be a very impractical and not a country's best interest, and also not the people's best interest. And the people don't get to vote on it. It's someone that is power that is
No,
making.
I agree. India is an open question. I'm not suggesting that they necessarily will. Also, this project will take a lot of time. They must have, besides the currencies, they must have products which to trade with. So the Russia has natural resources, okay?
Yeah, right.
China has some manufacturing capacities to score. India has a little bit of everything. Actually, about India, I openly tell you, I'm very skeptical on India as a economy, as a country, as a society, or so on. I'm skeptical. I'm not easily taken by their religious views or anything. It's just like India to me. I'm trying to avoid even thinking about that, so they can do whatever they want. It's up to them. But China and Russia, that represents a real, because India probably they're more like thinking about themselves, but China and Russia, they really want to hurt U.S. West, U.S. currency, and so on. So they're really working on it, and they're openly saying so. So
But
it's not.
isn't that affecting our markets now? Or do you think it's just adding to the uncertainty?
It's one of the uncertainties.
Yeah, I don't think that's playing a big part in our national sense of anxiety. But I do think that it's a very prescient point, and keep your eyes open for that. I do believe, however, that this country is anxious, and we've had a breakdown in trust. We don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And so our markets are wildly swinging. They get these numbers and they love them or they hate them, and so there's a lot of volatility here that I don't see. And you're talking about momentum trading. I don't see how you can predict the momentum. And people are thinking of a crisis, and they've been predicting the crisis for a long time, and it hasn't happened. What does that mean? It won't happen? No, it might, but nobody seems to have a good feel of what the future holds, and that leads to a general.
Oh, no, that's true. It's dangerous to prophesy, especially about the future.
Well, my answer to that is very simple. It is not stock market. It's a market of stocks. So you have to take each stock separately. Okay, I'm contradicting Milan's position on S&P 500, half of that and half in cash or so on. It's
And you're both right. I
both right. I'm talking about my fund portfolio.
Yeah.
My fund portfolio. I'm watching individual stock position and not as to buy and hold for next 15, 25 years. So stock now, my horizon is April 21st. That's it. I don't care what's happened after April 21st.
That's
horizon is April 21st.
That's a great discipline to have.
Absolutely. So when I have, let's see, I acquired today Barrick Gold. How is it doing now? Okay, it's 1975. It's north of where I bought it. So I'm in green there. And as long as I'm in green, I'm okay. Again, how long are you going to hold Barrick Gold? I think once it will go north of $21. Remember, Barrick 2 years ago was $30, even more. Okay. So because gold didn't perform so well and all market and economy and all that stuff, it went down to $15, $16, even just a couple of weeks ago. Probably you could buy it at $16 still. So now it started its moves and the gold went north of 2,000 per ounce. So what that means, Barrick, which produces enormous amount of gold, it has the same expenses, but now each ounce that it sells, instead of say 1,700 per ounce or 1,750 or 1,800, now you're going to sell north of 2,000 with essentially the same expenses. So
the costs are fixed, but the price is going higher, so you're making more profit.
Absolutely. So I'm planning actually, for example, on April 21, I will get rid of now, one way or another. So I will have plenty of cash again. So the first stock what I would look was Barrick to acquire more shares. And I don't care whether it will be 21 or 22 because my entry price is 1950.
Right.
Is Peter Monk behind Barrick Gold?
Who? Peter
Monk.
Well, if he would be alive, yes, he would.
He founded the company, right?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah, and you know he has done so well. He has built so many hospitals in
Yes.
Toronto.
Absolutely.
His contribution to society has been enormous.
He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal, man. And of course, it's now.
Well, shout out. It's so good to hear people that make the money and plow it back into a community. As well as making their own lives happy, but passing it on to those that are less fortunate. Those are the type of people that we want to hold up and applaud, rather than the people that are going into space.
Oh, he was great.
You're one of those people, Jim.
Thank you.
You're one of those people. Yeah, you have made a contribution to our chess program here in Collingwood, and we value that. And so you're right.
Absolutely.
The world needs more people like you.
You're so sweet to say. Thank you very much.
That's great.
But I do think that we, as a country, value the people that show their wealth rather than spread the wealth. And it's something that, as a country, we can grow and realize that those that are less fortunate, you give them a hand, and everybody lives happier lives, including yourself. When you're helping someone else, you actually get the benefit of watching them grow and survive and thrive. And this is not taught to us in the schools that I went to. And instead, it's one man for themselves. Look out for yourself rather than others. And I just think that having a community has been a better part of my life than having. And we try to make where anybody who plays chess is part of a chess community, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter what country they're from or what language they speak. And I think that that's an attitude that I want to share and spread. And so thank you very much for your comments, Milan.
Well, I would add to that, Jim, that, for example, if you take case of Russian players, there are a lot of Russian grandmasters who are openly against the war. Some of them moved outside of Russia to Kazakhstan, to Czech Republic, to many other countries. And some of them, for example, Grandmaster Shipov, who openly supports Russia, Putin, and the war, and he's complaining that not enough Ukrainians were killed. That should be way much more, yeah. So, and I think he's one, and he's not that he said it in his private chat somewhere or so on. He openly publishes it on Facebook and so on. So, and I'm afraid that there are many Russian chess players who share his view. One of them, Grandmaster Karyakin, who played several years ago, 6 years ago in New York for the World Championship with Carlsen. So Karyakin, and who actually was born in Ukraine, believe it or not. So this traitor actually first he quit Ukraine and moved to Moscow, and now he publicly denounces Ukraine, and he is there are many pictures of him and Putin on different occasions and so on. So again, it's a complicated world, and I would not go as far as to say that we love all chess players and so on, because that would include Russian chess players and those Russian chess players who support the war against Ukraine. So sorry.
No, I don't think we're all sitting around singing Kumbaya. No, there are people that are absolutely people that we must be on guard against, and any country that invades another country should be treated as a pariah. And I hope that those that support the invasion of another country, what can I say? They would not be welcome in my chess tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a precedent. Remember the beginning of Second World War? There was a chess Olympiad in Buenos Aires in 1939.
Yes,
And France refused to play Germany and many other countries, right? So again, German grandmasters, were they organizers of the war, or were they part of Wehrmacht? I don't think so. So the precedent was set up at that time.
The noteworthy thing is, whatever direction we are going in, a computer will help us get there faster. And that includes criminal activity. That includes...
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yeah. And so now, in this computer age, people like Putin can be a lot more effective pursuing their objectives than they ever have been in the past.
Agree with that? Yes, I agree with that. So the situation is, the best I could say is this uncertain. Therefore, attention is required. And it's equally difficult even to hold, for example, S&P 500, because let's say it dropped today, 2% or so on. But again, we'll see what tomorrow is bringing to us. I would be scared to hold, unless I sold covered calls that generate pretty good premiums. So in case of it's falling down, I'm still...
or unless you saw it as a buying opportunity. Dollar cost averaging, when something drops.
Yeah, dollar cost averaging.
I don't believe in dollars cost average. Only on the way up. On the way up, yes.
Sasha, am I correct that you have a philosophy that's hedging, would you prefer that I didn't use the term hedging when I talk about your philosophy? Because you seem to hedge your bets.
I think you nailed it. I think I use hedging, and but you know what? Because I'm selling options, not buying. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I'm like insurance company. Insurance company sells you insurance against almost anything. So I'm insurer. I'm selling somebody. Somebody believes that now will go up to $500 and $600 a share. Maybe he's right, by the way. Mm-hmm. But he needs to buy an element that would allow him to profit tremendously from that move. Yeah.
The leverage is enormous.
I believe on short term. See, in a year time, in 2 years time, it could go to $500, $600. So remember what I said about Lululemon, that it would hit at one point $500. Now, why I said that about Lululemon? Look, it showed a great financial report last quarter. Okay. So why it could do that? Because a lot of people in many countries, they are buying Lululemon products. Okay, they love them. It's a lifestyle. They're quite good, and the quality is pretty good, and so on. So here's the thing. So the first quarter was, say, from, let's say, January to March. Okay. So now comes April. So what's going to happen? People in April say, that's it. We are not going to buy any more Lululemon products. Hell with you. And all people in all countries refused to continue to buy Lululemon products, and so their quarters next
Over
quarter.
the last over the last 5 years, the S&P 500 has grown almost 100%.
Okay.
Lululemon has grown almost 300% during the same period of time. So people who
Yeah,
were
but remember, it was not a straight line that you buy.
No,
never
no.
200, 300. It was not like that. So again, even with Lululemon, I'm waiting to get a new entry in Lululemon. I think it will happen when there will be some market downturn. So I think it should go down to probably 325, 330, because there is a huge gap. If you remember when it shoot up 20% in a matter of a couple of hours, that gap has to be worked out. And how it works out, if it will slowly drop to 330, maybe even 325, that's an entry point.
I think we mentioned previously that Morningstar analysts are objective because they're not in anybody's pocket. And 27 Morningstar analysts recently recommended Lululemon as an excellent speculative buy with 3 sell recommendations, 2 hold recommendations, and 22 buy recommendations. So that's something we need to pay attention to.
One thing I'll comment on both of you, because you have different philosophies, but you're both fact-based, and I don't see any emotional driving you to decision making. And this is one of the things I think when the modern investing, you have to take the emotions out of it.
Agree.
When you can use them when you make your general philosophy, of course, but when you're making your rules that you're going to play by, Milan just did his research. He said, the S&P grew by X amount, the Lululemon grew by Y amount, and this is what you need to be: fact-oriented, doing your research. If you're going to be in the investment game, you don't get emotional about your investments or your money. You're basically working with facts.
Yes, well said, Jim. It's
Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize for economics a few years ago, is not even an economist. He's a psychologist, and he talked about the psychology of investing, which plays such an important role. Yeah,
that's a tremendous, and I always recommending this book that I'm always referring to, and I'm reading from time to time certain, some writings I enjoy, and some writings are not that great. So of course I'm reading over and over some writings that I agree with, and my favorite one is William O'Neill.
Sasha, if you went to Amazon and looked at books and then asked for books on investing, how many would you get?
Oh gosh,
probably
harder to think.
1,500 probably.
So
everybody's got the solution.
Yeah.
And it used to be if you put Elvis or diet in the title, it would sell.
But again, why I'm very often I quote William O'Neill, because it's not one of 2,000 writers. He is a man who's made tremendous fortune in the stock market. Remember, not in commodities and not in options, but actually in stocks. Number 2, he was founder and for many years editor of Investors Business Daily. At that time, 20 years, 30 years ago, it was like a Bible of investment.
You had to have it, right?
And his 2 rules were, and I still follow these 2 rules. Number 1, if you get a margin call, sell. Don't bring more money, just sell. And then when you sell, you are getting some cash. And when you get some cash, there will be sooner or later a buying opportunity when you can employ that cash and make money. Another one is to sell 7% down or any your position you sell. I don't allow
Never
myself.
followed that one.
I can go a little bit, maybe to 10% because of some stocks like Nvidia. They have a very high beta, and maybe 7% is not enough for stock like Nvidia. But it cannot be more than 10%. So if I would buy Nvidia at say 270, or what is it now? It's 270 a share or so.
I don't remember. I looked it just up and I didn't remember. Yeah. Let's see. 266.
266. It was 270 yesterday, even more. 266. So what is your maximum loss on the stock? Cannot exceed, say, 26.60, say $27. Okay, let's be. So that's all what you can play with, $27. If it goes down to $27, you sell. So it will continue going down for some time, maybe, but then it will reverse. Or let's say you sold and it reversed right there. Unfortunately, you lost it. You lost your stock, but you got cash. So you can employ your cash. So if you held before, you had, say, 500 shares. So you will buy 480 shares, okay? But you're still in a driver's seat. You control it. But we come also to the option, use of options. So if you bought at 266 and you sold covered call, do you know how much? Well, let's see if you sell May 19th, I believe, covered call, you'll get, it's killing. You're making a killing, really, because that's how much premium you will get. So now that will allow, even with 7% rule, you're still in a driver's seat because you will collect all the premiums that you sold.
Yeah, you're talking about individual stocks here. But, in our approach, we talk about the American market as a whole. When it drops, it's a good buy. You buy the S&P 500, which represents the American market quite accurately. And then when it drops, it's time to buy more. It's a bargain. You would look for a bargain when you're buying a camera or an automobile or anything. So the same thing goes with the American economy. The empires have 100% failure rate. But the failure of the American economy is not visible anywhere yet. Everybody wants to be in the US dollar.
I agree with everything what you're saying, but see, if I have excess of cash, let's see if I have, say, $200,000, I can't bring myself to buy S&P 500 with this money. I'd rather buy Nvidia.
He wants to make more.
The juiciest stocks. If it's the right moment to buy, I'm not sure. I have to look at Nvidia, for example. It should drop, in my opinion, another maybe 10% or so before I would seriously start to accumulate. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Nvidia tomorrow will shoot up 10% in one day. That's possible. Okay, so I'm not going to make money, but I will not lose money either. So, I don't have some kind of a set philosophy or set rules that I always follow or so on. I have discipline, that's for sure. I hate to see red in my trading window. If it's red, I'm trying to figure out why am I holding this stock. Oh, do I have to wait 7% drop down before I sell it? What's wrong to sell it now? I have to now convince. If it's green, I don't care. I can hold on to it. If it's red, I have to motivate myself and find very serious reasons why I'm holding to that stock.
And you're buying Goldman Sachs now.
Yes.
Goldman Sachs calls you a muppet and somebody who is incapable. Goldman Sachs, in their meetings, they spend the entire meeting figuring out how to get more money out of your wallet. They don't spend a minute figuring out how to help you prosper.
Wait a sec. I'm buying their stock. I really don't care.
Because the way they take advantage of other investors.
I want to take advantage of their trading success, their great trading. Yes. And I want them to make money for me. Yeah, I'm using them. No, they're not using me.
It's hard to argue against that. It's hard to argue against that, except on moral grounds.
What is moral grounds here? What?
I just think that like for me personally, I believe that oil stocks are out of it for me. I can't invest in they make a tremendous amount of profit even while others were suffering greatly, and they're federally financed. They're on what Nick would call the government welfare, and these companies continue to exist and make money for the shareholders. But I just don't. I think for my personal philosophy,
Yeah.
it wouldn't make me feel good to make money off of them. And there's plenty of other opportunities. So why would I make myself feel?
Jim, that reminds me. I agree with what you're saying. That reminds me. Germany did a terrible thing in Yugoslavia during the Second World War,
Yes.
and much of Europe too. And so, after I graduated and I became a dentist and I could afford it, I bought a Mercedes. And my mother said, "Son, how could you buy a German car?"
Yeah.
Hello. My answer to her was, "Well, now I got them working for me."
I also drive Mercedes now for a number of years, and
My wife did. So yeah.
they're just very well made cars. What can
That's
you say?
it. That was the thing, is that you went with, and that was often that buy American, but when the Japanese cars were so superior, how could you say buy American? Their product was better. So we have to get real. We have to make better products at home, and then
That's right. So, well, back to Goldman Sachs. I believe that I don't have any moral issues about Goldman Sachs.
Why would you argue against that?
All I'm trying to use their talent of stock trading to help me to make some money. That's about it. So I don't
there's nothing
get
wrong with
very
that.
deeply involved in it. On the other hand, I don't buy oil stocks simply because I don't have any stigma against all stocks, except that I don't see a lot of trading potential there. I really don't, because I know some people believe that oil will go to $150 a barrel and so on. Look, with all this turmoil in the world, with the Ukrainian war, with everything else, it doesn't reach even $100 a barrel. It's well far away from $100 a barrel. It's less than 80. So I really don't have any sentiment. Now the gold is a different story. I think gold will go higher simply because you see, remember, with the advance of crypto, a lot of money went from gold to cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin primarily, and so on. Now that phenomena is no longer there. Now everybody understands the problems with crypto is that they cannot hold, there is not store of value. Let's say a gold, so it's 2000, in worst case scenario, it will go back to 1800. It may go to much higher level, from especially this uncertainty about US dollars. Especially remember, if indeed in next year slowly the interest rate will start coming down, so what's going to happen with gold? It will go to higher, because right now you might as well buy treasury bills, you might buy bonds or so on, generating some income. And if it's all going down, then gold is becoming really, especially if you collect, say, 2% dividends, and gold is going higher in value. So that what's not available in crypto, because it's not store of value. There is no bottom. Let's see, it's now what, 2,700 one Bitcoin. So it can go. It's tomorrow. You wake up and it's 22,000. And I don't see the commodity or stock or anything will go higher in price if there is a natural supply and demand equilibrium is no longer there. So there are more buyers than sellers, and that commodity will go higher up in price. So Bitcoin, if there are so many buyers and very few sellers, it will go higher in price. Now, what exactly could generate that inflow of buyers, except I think, who is buying these days crypto? Maybe some speculators who lost money on stocks, on real estate, on anything that they're trying to get even, so they will buy speculative asset class. But to me, it's not an asset class. It's just there's no demand that, I wish I could buy a Bitcoin, or where can I go and buy a Bitcoin? There's nothing. You cannot buy a pint of milk. You cannot buy even a cheese sandwich. anything. So
Yeah, if I don't understand it better than the average person, then I don't touch it. And so it's
I
No,
think
that's a great tip. You know, the 6 rules that we have in Monday Morning Style of Investing. Number 6 is if you can't explain something to a 12-year-old, don't invest in it. Yeah.
12 years or even 120 years, I don't care.
Yes.
If you can explain to anybody exactly what it is, it's a complete speculation. There is no
Yes,
demand. There is no demand for it. There is nothing you can do with that. You cannot earn any interest in it.
Yeah.
So I really don't understand the purpose of. Let's see if I would have access of cash. I don't know.
To
Even
me, it's like buying a lottery ticket. I don't understand it. What are my chances? It doesn't make sense to me. But other people do it and they enjoy it and they have hope. I don't know. But
Many people are interested in the fact that you can't trace it. You can't trace it.
Yeah.
And that appeals to certain individuals, especially if involved in criminal activity.
Yes.
Mhm.
I knew where you were going with that. But the idea is, I think, with gold, my starting out philosophy was every portfolio should have some gold in it. And I just have a percentage in gold. It's a small percentage of the overall portfolio. And I check it every now and then. And the thing is, gold has maintained its value. So it's like I haven't had to make adjustments.
Jim, if it's a small percentage of your portfolio, what value is it? If it triples and it's a small percentage, it hardly will have any impact on your overall portfolio. If you lose it totally, similarly, it'll hardly have any impact on your overall portfolio. So like Gerald Loeb said, put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket. And if that basket is the American economy as a whole, it's going to be pretty hard to beat in our lifetime.
Well, to my likings, it's a basket, but not the best basket. If I could buy just few, say 3, maybe 5 selected stocks and hold on to them, that's my best basket, so to speak. And
I can't argue with either of you because you're
and
both right.
I can create that basket and make my own allocation. So much Nvidia, so much Netflix, so much Now, and so much gold, for example. I can regulate it myself and figure out.
Sasha, in 50 years or more of investing, the only way that I could pick stocks that perform well is with hindsight. Yeah.
Well, that helps if you have it. But see, these days, I don't believe in hindsight simply because everything is up and everything is internet, everything is known. There is hardly you can uncover something what is not known already
These days, that's for sure. It's really true.
Inside idea.
If you hear about it, it's too late to invest in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, with that, I thank you so much for today's program.
Thank you.
And don't forget that on Saturday, we will, with Milan, broadcast chess program from the location of the upcoming tournament.
Thank you so much for supporting this operation.
Yes,
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
You too, Jim. That's wonderful. Wonderful for us.
Okay, so
what you're doing.
we'll have sun on Saturday.
We'll see you soon.
Fun. See you soon. Bye-bye and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.